Hello, my name is Emily Barr, and this is the alpha for my game, Dragon's Quest. So, Dragon's Quest is a collection-based game in which players go through this territory board in order to gather items, get gold, get weapons, battle each other, etc. So the main end game is to get 1,000 gold pieces. You can get that in various different ways, which I'll end up explaining shortly. So, since I was unable to find anyone to play my game, the 3 players for this game today will be Iron Man, Hannibal, and Dana Scully over here. So game bits are currently under construction. While I have most done, player avatars will currently just be Mike Wazowski, a cat, and this little bird thing. So turn order is determined by rolling dice. Whoever gets the higher number gets to go first, so on and so forth. But just for ease of this demonstration, we'll just go this way. So Tony will be going first. Movements in the early parts of the game are fairly limited, as players can only move forward and gather items. So let's say I'll move forward a space. Gathering can begin once you're out of your home red space, so you can begin gathering even when you're in your initial little horde still. So let's say that Tony's gathering an item. So he draws a random card from his pre-shuffled gathering pile, and he gets a vase. So a vase is worth 150 gold of the 1,000 he eventually needs to collect. So it's also recommended that players keep careful lists so they can do their hit points and also coordinate how much gold they have. So there we go. He's got 150 so far. Not a bad way to start. So Hannibal is going second. So he draws a card, and when he gathers, he gets 400 gold worth of jewels. So that's a pretty good item you can get from gathering, one of the highest you can get. Gathering tends to be rather low reward, so having jewels be kind of rare is good to stimulate players to do other things than stay in their little place and gather for the whole game. So he's got 400 gold. Put it there. Dane decides she also wants to gather in her opening turn. She gets a war axe. Weapons are things that can also be gathered during gathering turns, but they can also be purchased, but more on that later on. The way that weapons do damage is you roll 2 different dice. For the purpose of this, it's going to be 2 six-sided die, and just add whatever health points it adds onto that. So it's kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons style way of dealing damage. And this weapon can last for 2 turns. Weapons break after a certain amount of turns to keep players from kind of hoarding the really high, powerful weapons and having an advantage. But more on that later. So Tony decides to move. Hannibal decides to chill out for a second and gather again. He reveals the Shopkeeper card. The Shopkeeper card is in every single player's deck, so it's not just in one deck. And so with the Shopkeeper card, Hannibal gets the chance to kind of browse the Shopkeeper's wares. The Shopkeeper has weapons that are often way more powerful than any you can get via gathering. Thing is, they also cost money. So this is an important way for players to kind of balance, like, do I want to keep my money and save it and end up getting towards the end goal faster, or do I want to just spend it on a more powerful weapon? Hannibal likes to fight a lot, so we'll just... There you go, that's 300 gold out of the 400 he already had, so that's 100 gold for him. Gathering is only one of the mechanics to get gold in this game. So let's say that Dana wants to go fight Tony to get a little bit of his capital. The way fights are initiated, one player encroaches on the space that another player is currently inhabiting. This way, since both players cannot inhabit the same space at the same time, a fight sequence is initiated. For the purpose of this, let's pretend that they both have weapons. So Dana has the axe she previously gathered, and Tony managed to find a stick along the way. Sticks are kind of like the lowest weapons in the game, as evidenced by their kind of low yield, and Dana has the higher yield. For this purpose, let's say roll a dice right there, so that Dana rolled 7 plus 2, so she did 9 points of damage, since all players immediately start off with 30 health points. Tony then has, I can't do math, Tony just has -9 over here. So when players get down to 0, the victor player is allowed to take one random card from the other player's inventory. Not of their gathering pile, but stuff they already have. Cards are chosen at random, so players cannot go and deliberately like take the highest ranking item, but Dana got it anyway. Dana got his Ancient Vase. So let's say that instead of her defeating him in the middle of the battle, her axe broke, so she no longer has the weapon she needs. If he attacks her while she is weaponless, she is unable to escape, and she loses. So Tony's allowed to get one of her cards, and that's how it goes. Losing player is sent back to their lair. So this isn't too big of a deal, as in their lair they can like then get out, gather, get more items, so it's intended to be not as debilitating. I'm working as a way, possibly in the beta, to have a running away mechanic, but in terms of what you would lose for that, it would probably be the same as what you have if you lost. Players aren't the only thing that can be attacked. Let's say that Hannibal wants some of the weapons that Dana has, so he goes after her hoard directly. He is unable to get to her weapons, so he has to fight through a barrier in order to get some of the weapons or items or whatever that she has. So barriers are kind of like people in that they have health points. Barriers have a higher health point rating of 50 points. So he can attack it continuously, and when he's done attacking it, he gets into her hoard and he can take up to 3 items. So this can be pretty much debilitating when it comes to like what players have, because there's so much gold to be had, so many weapons, stuff like that. So players, let's say they're in close enough range that they can go and defend their hoard. So if she wins, it's the same as any other battle mechanic. He's sent back, the damage done onto her hoard is undone, and she gets whatever she got to take from him. So this is kind of a way to keep players from always just like spamming attacking and keeping these relatively protected. I'm thinking another addition I might make onto the beta is having barriers be able to defend themselves, either with players having random encounters and getting familiars to guard their territory, or through other means. This is not the only barriers that players can attack. Let's say he wants to go for the highest ranking barrier. The highest ranking barrier is currently the King Circle. The King Circle is kind of like high risk, as in has a lot of health points, and players will often try to defend it so they can get what's inside, but it's also very high reward because the King Circle has the best like item in the game, the Imperial Crown. Imperial Crown is 1,000 gold, so it's an instant win no matter where you are. So this can add some kind of teamwork elements because players can work on attacking it together. If they're in adjacent sectors, they can work on attacking, like, let's say this part of the barrier, break it down, and they can split what's inside. Given that this is a 3-player game, there is some concern that players will end up teaming up on one character. Like, let's say Hannibal and Tony want to kind of team up and both defeat and get into her horde together. While this could be possible, it's different from the way that the King's Barrier works. While the King's Barrier has 50 hit points, as with all barriers, with reductions so to allow players to kind of team up and attack it, the same cannot be said for this barrier. So let's say Hannibal does 10 points, so she's now at 40 health points. When Tony attacks, she still has 50 health points to him, so that's kind of to make sure that like these two can't whittle down on her health at the same time while she's kind of just like helpless over here. The same can be said for player battles. Let's say that he's right here. Let's say that he's right here, and Hannibal and Dana both want to attack him. Battles cannot happen between 3 people at once. So let's say these two are fighting. He is unable to step in while these two are in a fight sequence. He can only go off, maybe attack other barriers, maybe gather, depending on what his own strategy is. And speaking about strategy, I think I've shown a few different ways players can go about winning. There's the pacifist strategy, where one kind of just like wanders around their own little place, gathers enough to equal 1,000. This is certainly possible, but I try to discourage it a little bit to prevent all 3 players from just camping out and relying on chance to get up to 1,000. To also kind of decrease the chance of that, I'm playing around with the idea of, in the beta version, adding in random encounters, whether with like enemies to like take away some of your gold or something like that. So another way to do it is kind of like the sabotaging round, I call it, which is players who will deliberately go after players every single time just to keep them from getting valuable weapons or just kind of discourage them from going too far around the board. Another way to do it is players to, as I've said before, team up, attack the King's Mirror together, and get to kind of like break down this nice 1,000 gold they got right there. Then there's another method of players attacking each other's hordes directly, just all kinds of stuff. So there are many different ways to go about winning this game, whether by gathering, you know, all the nice items you got scattered around, like plain old gold, more gold, ancient vases, which I've already shown, jewels, just, there's plenty of ways to go. And Shopkeep, of course, has items to help them on their way. So FO5 demonstrated the kind of things you can do in Dragon's Quest and shown off kind of the aesthetic I'm going for. As I've said a few times throughout this video, more will be added once the beta version comes out. But so far, I'm going with something like this. So, thank you very much, and I'm eager to hear back your comments. Thank you.